Hi there. After a couple of false starts on my end, today we'll talk about an interesting word you might not have heard of before, an ancient university, a couple of constitutional amendments, a musician, a song, and a quote. So grab your favorite cuppa, settle in, and let's find out all about it. Hi there, and welcome to This Day in History for February 27th. February 27th is the 58th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, with 307 days remaining to the end of the year, 308 in leap years. Today's word is Samizdat. The way it's spelled, it looks like it would be pronounced Samizdat or Samizdat, but the correct pronunciation is Samizdat. Samizdat is a noun. It's a Russian word that refers to the clandestine copying and distribution of literature that was suppressed by the government, particularly in the Soviet Union. Samizdat literally means self-publishing. You see, it is that the Soviet government controlled the press and censored dissident voices. So people resorted to manually reproducing banned books, articles, and pamphlets, often using typewriters and carbon paper and later photocopiers to circulate them secretly among trusted readers. Some famous works that spread through Samizdat included writings of Alexander Solzhenitsyn and George Orwell's book 1984 and dissident political essays. Here are a couple of sentences using the word Samizdat. During the Soviet era, dissidents risked imprisonment to distribute Samizdat copies of banned books and political essays, or the underground network of Samizdat publications kept the spirit of free thought alive despite the government's strict censorship. First known use of the word Samizdat is in the 1960s. Samizdat. But wait, there's more. A related word, Tamizdat. Tamizdat is a counterpart to Samizdat, and it refers to literature that was published abroad and then smuggled back to the Soviet Union. Many dissident writers who couldn't get their works published in the USSR would send manuscripts to the West, where they were printed and distributed, and then these banned books and articles were secretly brought back into the Soviet Union, often at great personal risk. And because I do try to include example sentences, here are a couple for Tamizdat. Unable to publish his novel in the USSR, the author smuggled his manuscript to the West, where it became a landmark work of Tamizdat literature. Or, Tamizdat books, secretly brought back from abroad, provided Soviet citizens with a rare glimpse into the uncensored world of ideas. Famous examples of Tamizdat publications include Boris Pasternak's Dr. Zhivago, first published in Italy in 1957, and Alexander Solzhenitsyn's The Gulag Archipelago, which was first published in France in 1973. Pretty sure we've mentioned both of these guys and these works in previous episodes. I was unable to locate a first known date for Tamizdat, but there they are, Samizdat and Tamizdat. Samizdat was requested by YouTube viewer @TRamsire. Thanks, Teresa. And if you have a word you'd like to see in this Word of the Day segment, drop it in the comments. And with that, I was surprised to learn that Byzantine society in the 400s had plenty of opportunity to receive an education. People were encouraged to become educated. So today's item is that on February 27th in the year 425, Emperor Theodosius II founded the University of Constantinople. That university entered a period of decline in the 1200s, but actually did last until the 1450s when it was refounded as a Greek Orthodox college. How about that? The 19th Amendment had been ratified by the agreement of the required majority and became law in August of 1920. This is the one that made it legal for women to vote, and it was soon tested in several lawsuits. The one we'll talk about today was called Lesser versus Garnett. It was that two women in Maryland had applied for and been granted registration as qualified voters in the state of Maryland. Lesser sued to have these women's names removed from the voter registration on the basis that they were women. The suit further stated that Maryland had refused to ratify the 19th Amendment, and the Maryland Constitution had limited suffrage to men. Lesser had some other arguments as well, but this was the crux of it. The case went to the Supreme Court, who ruled on February 27, 1922, that the 19th Amendment was in fact constitutional and the law would stand. On February 27, 1951, the 22nd Amendment to the United States Constitution was ratified. This was the one that limits U.S. presidents to 2 terms. George Washington and Thomas Jefferson had both declined to run again after they had served 2 terms, thereby setting a tradition, but tradition is not legally binding. Later on in the 1900s, Franklin D. Roosevelt had gone on to win a 3rd and even a 4th term. The fact that he ran and was elected to those additional terms gave rise to concerns about a president serving unlimited terms, and so Congress wrote the 22nd Amendment to answer these concerns. This amendment also addresses questions about such cases as where, say, a vice president steps in to fill the remainder of a term for a president who can't complete his term for whatever reason. 22nd Amendment then was ratified on February 27, 1951, becoming law. This is the birthday of Neal Schon, born February 27, 1954, at Tinker Air Force Base in Oklahoma. Best known as a founding member and lead guitarist of the band Journey, he was also a member of Santana and a group called Bad English before Journey. He started playing guitar when he was 10 years old. He's played with plenty of notable musicians and groups, done guest appearances on records and songs with dozens of other artists, and has done some solo work as well. In addition to the over 2 dozen songs that he's written or co-written, I discovered an instrumental that he did called Caruso on his 2001 album Voice. Caruso was written by Italian singer-songwriter Lucio Dalla and dedicated to the Italian operatic tenor Enrico Caruso. Apparently there are lyrics, but the version I found is an instrumental, and mercy, what a beautiful piece it is. I'll include a link to it with the link to today's song, which is coming up shortly. Unfortunately, Neal Schon suffers from tinnitus, but he is still working as far as I can tell and turns 71 in 2025. Happy birthday, Neal Schon. Today's song is Don't Stop Believin' by Journey. Written by Jonathan Cain, Steve Perry, and Neal Schon, Don't Stop Believin' was released in October of 1981 as a single from Journey's 7th studio album, Escape. They had 4 hits from that album, 3 of them in the top 10. Don't Stop Believin' became the group's signature song and continues to be popular all these years later. It's counted among Rolling Stone's 500 greatest songs of all time and has been selected by the Library of Congress for preservation in the United States National Recording Registry as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. Don't Stop Believin' by Journey. Link in the description. We're about wrapped up here, but I do have a quote for you, and it is from Neal Schon. He said, "Nobody's perfect. Everyone slides here and there, and they have their ups and downs. When they're down, that is not the time to step all over them." Neal Schon. Feels like there was some painful life experiences behind that one, doesn't it? He is right, though. Alrighty, y'all be good to each other. Take care, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank goodness for editing. And I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with a link in your email, messaging, or social media. If you enjoy this series, you can check out the playlist that contains these videos. I'll put a link to that in the description. That playlist lives on YouTube, so for other platforms, I'll include a link to my blog page. It's called No Really. You can also find me on Rumble, BitChute, and Odyssey. All those links in that description. Alrighty, that's all I can think of right now. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.